I'm so glad you brought this up because this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So when we were in, so we've already referenced it, but at the beginning of 2019, joined sort of you, Jesse, and a few of the Curve crew out in South Africa with Benki, and like a week's riding. Well, you guys have been there for a week before, but then we joined you. And Jesse, that was the first time you and I had sort of spent some time together, and you were talking about this idea and this plan of essentially giving everything away and living out on your bikes, and I remember being so, it's funny, I spoke to I think it was like the second or third night we were there and you were talking about it, and I was speaking to my wife Hannah on the phone, and I remember just being so impacted by that kind of vision that you had of just wanting to kind of just live this simple life, because unfortunately it's so far removed from everything else that we're exposed to. And we're from like a young age we're exposed to this kind of understanding of quote unquote success, and you accumulate things, and you accumulate like a house or a flat, and then a house, and then a bigger house with a garden, and then a garage, and there's this kind of these stepping stones of quote unquote success and what it is to be a human. And it was so refreshing and it was so impactful to spend some time with you, and you going, no, we just want to, we all that stuff doesn't mean anything. I've spent time accumulating stuff, but we realize it doesn't mean anything, and we just want to go and live a simple life. And you guys did it. And you guys are still in the process of doing it. Of course, lockdowns had another say. But I mean, maybe you can the two of you can share a bit about how you got to that kind of resolve in your heart of this. We need to do this. We need to go exploring.
I was terrified.
Oh, really? Well, that's cool.
Yeah. I think Jesse was probably the driver of, like, I want to do this, and I think we should do this, and then the seed was kind of planted. And yeah, I would walk through my house constantly and just walk past all these items that I'd built up in a 4-bedroom house that I had on my own, going, when was the last time I used that? Have I ever used that? You build up all this stuff and you start to question what you're doing. And I was always constantly unsettled, but the thought of stepping outside of this kind of comfort zone bubble that I had created did terrify me. So even up until the last night when we were sitting in the house and there was no furniture in there or any takeaway on the floor, and it was like the day before we caught a plane to our next flight, it was still a lot of nerves for me. And I think it took probably a good 6 months or more into when we actually started hitting the road before I kind of got comfortable with the idea. So I was probably a bit of a harder sell initially, but
part of it was just seeing what would happen if you hit the road and tried to live on your bike, because if you're living in a certain life and you're sort of looking, the grass is always greener, right? You might have this idea, like you painted that picture, Jordan, of this traditional success story, right? You accumulate stuff. You have you get married, you have children, and all this sort of stuff. But that's fine, and it works for a lot of people. You get the next promotion, and you earn more money, you get more stuff, you get a bigger house, and maybe that works for a lot of people. But what if it doesn't? Do people just step into that blindly and go, okay, well, this is the game that we have to play? Yeah. Or do they think about it and go, well, what actually works for me? What's important for me? And so.
Oh. Yeah, like everyone chooses their path.
Yeah, totally. So we just thought, okay, it might be a bit of fun to try to live differently for a while. And the thing is, it's not, we don't think we know all the answers, but we thought, okay, well, we're in a position where we could give it a shot and just to see what would happen. Yeah. And you'd be surprised what happens, right? Yeah. Because the thing is, people look at this sort of life and go, okay, well, you're just bumming around on a bike, right? But the thing is, what happens when I really don't think that I really think most people people wouldn't be able to cope with that that absolute freedom.
Yes.
That freedom can be terrifying for people, because imagine people, I don't think, realize that they have all these distractions in their lives, right? So you catch up with friends, you turn on the TV, you have all this noise, you go to work. But what would happen if that was all suddenly gone? You were sitting in a tent in the morning, and you had absolute freedom as to where you were going over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. There's no TV, there's no phone reception, there's none of that. There's no noise, there's no distraction. You're just alone with your thoughts. There's nothing to distract you. So what happens when you have all that freedom?
What Jesse's actually saying is the meltdown that I had for the first time. And everything he's said now is exactly what I went through. As much as I was all for the idea, I knew the biggest test for me was being able to deal with my head noise, as I call it. And for me, that was so difficult to come to grips with having freedom, because I've always managed to keep myself occupied with writing, jobs, hobbies, all that kind of stuff, so that I didn't have to deal with whatever was going on in my head, just from day to day. So for me, the first few months were really tough. And you post pretty pictures on Instagram and everyone's like, oh, well, you know, you're doing nice bike rides. I didn't post the photos of the tantrums or the tears or the days that I just couldn't ride because I just couldn't deal with all these emotions that I was going through. And it took its toll for a while on both of us. And I was questioning whether this was the right decision, but I knew that I didn't want to go back to where I was. And we kind of hoped together that it was going to be like a cleansing thing for me. So getting everything out in the open and dealing with it and accepting that I have this freedom, and I still have a really difficult time with that. I'm someone that likes to be busy, be distracted, but since kind of coming back home, coming back to Melbourne, because home is wherever we are on the road.
That's nice.
Yeah, I miss being out there now. So it's kind of done a full flip. But yeah, I would find a lot of people would find it so confronting to give up all the distractions and the things and the stuff that just kind of keeps us from experiencing, I guess,